Charles, Lamanna, thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Heather. Woo. And thank you, everybody, for joining us and making it to day 2. That's always a challenge sometimes. I'm really excited to get the chance to talk about Power Platform and everything that's happening. And today, there's a ton of great Power Platform sessions for folks that want to go deeper and learn more and see all the great announcements that we've had over the last couple of months. It's going to be an action-packed set of sessions. And for the next hour, we're going to get a great tour of AI and all kinds of other exciting things and what it means for the Power Platform. But before I do that, I like to always say a big thank you. We appreciate the amazing community. Come on. But we appreciate the amazing community that exists around Microsoft 365 and the Power Platform. In my entire tech career, this is the most energetic, the most engaged, and the most thoughtful in terms of feedback and coaching and growing community I have ever seen. And it's not something that we just do at Microsoft, it's something you all do together, helping us get better all the time. Additionally, I have to say it because this is a Microsoft 365 conference, and because it's true, Power Platform and Microsoft 365 are a great combo. And I'll talk about how we see these things fitting together and evolving over time, because it's really the best way to help with end-user productivity and end-user efficiency if you mix these two things together. And for folks that haven't seen the Power Platform before, do I have any Power Apps users in the crowd? Oh, great. How about Power BI? Awesome, all right. Power Automate? Oh, wow, okay, that's the biggest. So, and if you haven't used all the Power Platform products, give one of them a try, because what's amazing is they're exciting on their own, but even better together. Power BI for self-service analytics and data understanding, Power Apps for web and mobile application development, Power Automate for workflow robotic process automation, Power Pages for websites and business process, and Power Virtual Agent for chatbots. They all use the same no-code, low-code approach. So if you're a developer, it can make you go faster. If you're a business user and you like just, say, sticking in Excel, it also can help you build amazing solutions. And if we look at how this works together with Microsoft 365, we really think this as a great combo. Less of a view like this as two separate boxes, and much more a view like this, where Power Platform is an easy and simple way to extend and enrich your Microsoft 365 deployment, whether that's Teams, or SharePoint, or Excel, or OneDrive, or more. And we think this is a really important aspect for Microsoft because it can bring a lot of developer capabilities and is really in our DNA, going back to Access and Visual Basic, to really empower this low-code, no-code development inside of the Office suite. And as a few just short, quick examples, we can see that we have Power Apps showing up inside of SharePoint to do a custom web part or to go create an application inside of a form. Or you can go use Power Apps to build an application on Excel file hosted inside of OneDrive, or embed Power Apps as a personal tab or inside of a channel inside of Teams. All of these cases allow you to bring the full power and potential of the Power Platform right inside of the M365 user experiences. This is just a few. There's dozens and dozens and dozens more. And this is kind of the theme that you'll see throughout the session today. This idea of M365 and Power Platform working together to really create great solutions and great value. And we really kind of see this as a combo where two things are a lot better when mixed together as opposed to on their own. And that's really how we do things like packaging and pricing, but most importantly, product development, our teams working together. So that's kind of setting up the stage for what we're going to be talking about. And really, there's two big stanzas that we want to share today. The first is talking about what's new in terms of AI capabilities and Copilot capabilities inside the Power Platform, and also how professional developers and coders can edit and extend the Power Platform in Microsoft 365. And the first one is probably something you've heard a lot about from Microsoft over the last couple of months. If we look at what Jeff talked about yesterday, this idea of cloud, hybrid, and AI really changing how work is done, AI is the area where I am most excited. There's this new idea of these big AI models that completely transform how we work. I've never seen anything. This is bigger than what mobile meant to me or cloud or web meant in terms of what it enables. And when we talk about these big AI capabilities, It's really leveraging these amazing large-scale foundation models. I think everybody here has probably used ChatGPT. Maybe some other folks have used things like Midjourney or DALL-E. You can generate text, you can understand text, you can create images, you can even start to create videos. There's startups like Runway out there where just based on textual input, you can create a short video or film. It is an incredible time with incredible capabilities, and they're not just a small improvement over what we used to have when it comes to AI. These are groundbreaking, non-linear, non-incremental AI capabilities. ChatGPT can pass the American medical exam, LSAT, the bar exam, AP Bio, you name it. This one generalized AI model can complete all of these tests. That is amazing. If you think about how we can start to use that through things like Copilot and other experiences, we can really turbocharge what's possible for users across the board. And we talk about this with this metaphor of the Copilot. And you heard a lot about this yesterday in the context of Microsoft 365, how the Copilot is your real-time collaborator. It can help you create content, presentations, documents, and more. But it also can help you automate tasks, or develop applications, or build chatbots, or understand data. It's not just a content creation thing, it's also a development and an inspiration and exploration set of capabilities. And we really think that with Copilot, we're going to see a shift from a world where office work and information work is all about people working side by side to a world where it's people working side by side with AI, with their AI Copilot. And humans are always still in control. They still oversee and edit and revise what the AI suggests. But we aren't alone. We're all going to have an AI capability that sits side by side with us and makes us more productive. And the first and original, the OG GitHub Copilot, is really where we saw this come to life. For folks that haven't used it, it can help generate code based on what it do code completion and task completion. And it's really dramatically shifted productivity of developers. We use this extensively at Microsoft. The majority of my team building out Power Platform and Dynamics uses GitHub Copilot every single month. And it has helped with productivity boosts based on some studies we've done from 40 to 45%. These are amazing stats. These are productivity gains that we haven't seen since the first personal computer showed up. It's that level of shift. And it's not just for developers. It's not just for coders. We also have Power Platform Copilot. We've announced a Copilot in Power Apps to help you build applications, a Copilot in Power Automate to help you automate tasks, and a Copilot for Power Virtual Agent to build conversational experiences. And we've been working on this idea of AI as a collaborator for a few years now. We've seen that first with GPT-3 all the way back in 2021, we could use it to go from natural language to PowerFX expressions in Power Apps, or to DAX queries in Power BI. In 2022, we introduced things like conditional formatting, coding by example, as well as the ability to go from image or Figma files to a Power App. And then in 2023, this is when we actually got to use the name Copilot for the first time, and also saw an explosion of these capabilities. And I think ever since the first week of March, there's been a non-stop drumbeat of Copilots across all of Microsoft, inside of Power Virtual Agents, inside of Power Apps and Dataverse schema manipulation, and some new capabilities that we'll show in a second. Now, if we look at all of these, the one that I have been most excited by is Copilot in Power Automate. It allows you to describe what you want to automate just in natural language, just with a few words, and it can create a workflow that will run in the background all the time, saving you time each and every day. So you can use Copilot to create an autopilot. And what's incredible about this is, since we've launched it, we've been able to do two things. The first is track its impact on users, actual production usage in broad public preview. And we can see that it reduces the time to build an automation or workflow for developers and non-developers alike by 50%. And it also reduces the error rate by 70% in the first run. It's rare when we have a preview which can actually make things be built faster and easier. Has higher NPS too. It's incredible the level of impact it's had. So that's item number one. The second thing, which is super exciting, is it's getting better all the time. We're able to have a reinforcement learning feedback loop which allows us to tune and improve the model every single week. And we can see our acceptance rate of suggestions based on natural language improves by about 1 percentage point every week or two. This is a huge deal because that means not only is it impactful in the V1, in the preview, not even GA, but also it's still getting better, just even based on current technology. And we think the same level of impact will exist across all of the Copilot capabilities. Now, a slide doesn't do it justice, so I'm super excited to welcome on the stage April, who's going to show us Power Automate Copilot and a bunch of other things in action. And it's, I think, going to be a pretty exciting demo.
How's everyone doing? Enjoying the conference so far? Come on, woo, thanks. All right, I am so excited to be here today to show off some of these AI capabilities with Copilot in Power Automate. Now, to set the stage here, we're going to be talking about Pacific Gas and Electric, who supplies gas and electric to more than 5.2 million customers in Northern California. With Pacific Gas and Electric, they're always looking for ways to improve their customer feedback process. So we're going to look at how we can leverage Power Automate Copilot to make their customer feedback process go smoothly. So to do that, we're going to jump over here for a live demo. All right. All right. So let's set the stage a little bit, too, before we get into the live demo here on what we want to do and what PG&E currently has. So right now, they're using Microsoft Dataverse. So Dataverse is the low-code data platform for the Power Platform where we can securely store and manage our data. So they have this feedback table in Dataverse with all of the customer feedback that they've collected. And what we want to do for them is leverage some of these new AI capabilities in Power Automate to get a weekly summary of all of this feedback that they've received and send that out to our stakeholders. So we're going to see how we can do this live in just a few minutes with some of these new Copilot capabilities. So to get started, we're going to jump over here to Power Automate. And we're going to select the Create tab for the left-hand side. You'll see this new option in the types of Canvas apps or types of flows that we can create here called Describe It to Design It. With Describe It to Design It, if we click on that, so there it is right there, we can select that, and it will give us a prompt where we can put in a natural language prompt of what we want to do. This is reducing the barriers to entry to get started creating flows very easily. So I can put in a message like, once a week, get all of the feedback from a table in Dataverse, put that in a CSV table, and send them by email. Exactly what I want to automate here. Just put that natural language query in there, click confirm, and this is going to use that GPT functionality, AI functionality, to take what I put in and suggest a flow structure for me. I didn't have to do anything but put in what I wanted to automate. Isn't that awesome? Just like, come on. So if we take a little look at what it did here, it suggested that we use a recurrence trigger so that we can send that flow once a week. It's going to list the rows from Dataverse. It's going to put that in a table for us, and it's going to send that email. So now all I have to do is click Next, confirm the connectors that it's using, and authenticate into there. We'll go next again, and this will take us to the classic experience that we have with creating flows in Power Automate. Now all I have to do is fill in the blanks. So I point to that feedback table in Dataverse that we looked at earlier, and I can see it automatically added that table for us. I'm just going to do a small tweak here. I don't want to get all of the columns in that table. I just want to get the feedback column. So I'm going to select the custom option here, and we're going to add a header for feedback, and for the value, we're going to point that to our comments column, which is where the feedback is stored. Now with that, I'm pretty much good to go. I could finish filling out the email here, so I want to send this to myself. So I'll type in my name here. We'll do a subject of here is your feedback summary for the week. And then now I just have to point it to the feedback. Now, we could technically stop here, and AI did all of this for us, right? But this would send a long list of all of the information from the table, and that's not what we want ideally. What we want is to get an AI-generated summary of all the feedback. So it's going to look through all the feedback there and summarize what we have. Now, to do this, we can use a brand new feature in Power Automate by going to Add an Action, And we see that we have this new option to create text with GPT using Azure OpenAI. So this is using ChatGPT hosted in Azure, and we have the full power now of ChatGPT available at our fingertips to use in our automations inside of Power Automate. So the world is our oyster now with this. As Charles said earlier, this is truly groundbreaking technology. So if I select this new action, the first thing that we need to do here is create instructions. So if I go to create instructions, you see that we have a few templates to get started. So of course we can pass in our own start from blank there and put in our own query that we want to do. But we have some things we can do like responding to a complaint, creating a blog post, or exactly what we're wanting here, to summarize text. So if I select this summarize text option, you see that it's giving me a pre-baked set of instructions that we can pass to ChatGPT to tell it what we want to do. So we can tell it that we want to summarize the text below in no more than 2 paragraphs of information. So now all I have to do at this point is use these instructions in my flow. That will populate that here into my instructions. And now if I just simply replace the text, and I'm going to point that to our CSV output in our table right here. So it's going to be all the feedback that we have for the week from Dataverse. So now that's in there. All we have to do at this point is save. And what do you think? Should we do a real-time test of this? See if it works? Anyone think we should? Come on. All right, so we're going to do that. And then we're going to go back to my flows, and we're going to do a run of that. So here's our feedback flow, and we're just going to do a quick run. So this is we'll do it manually for now. We'll run the flow. And let's see, we'll jump over to our email. Should get, there it is running, so it looks good so far. And again, this is a live demo, so crossing my fingers that this works here. So let's see, let's do a quick test. Sometimes it takes a minute to go in there, and there we go. Bam, there is the email. So here is our comments there. There's our summary for the feedback of all of that in less than 2 paragraphs, exactly as we instructed the GPT model to do for us with that feedback. So really transformational there. Yeah, thank you. That deserves an applause there. This is just one example of what we can do with this. So much possibilities. But we're not going to stop here. So we just saw how we can use all of this great new AI capability. But PG&E has another problem that they want us to solve. They have an internal system. So they have actually a console application that they want to be able to take the summary that we generated with these new AI features and put that in the legacy app. Now, this app doesn't have an API. So what does that mean? That means over here in Power Automate, we can't get to it via a connector. But we can use robotic process automation and UI automation inside of Power Automate Desktop to make this happen. So to do that, I've actually already went into our machines and created a hosted VM where I can run these automations because that's required for these RPA. And then I went in and I've created an RPA automation here. So it's going to simply go and run that application, get all the information from our summary that we generated, and copy that over. Now that I have these building blocks, I can tie this with that flow that we just generated with Describe It to design it. So if we go back and edit our flow, we can add a new action after the send email. Search for Power or Desktop flows here. And then here we go. We have an action there to run a flow built with Power Automate Desktop. And all I have to do is click on that, connect it to the flow that we created there, the desktop flow. And now we have a complete end-to-end solution here where we've automated using some of these new AI capabilities of automatically using GPT to get that summary feedback and adding it into our legacy system with robotic process automation. I think that's pretty awesome end-to-end story, don't you? Yeah. All right, so we have just shown how we can leverage all of these new Copilot capabilities with these ChatGPT models hosted on Azure and Power Automate. So thank you so much. With that, let's bring Charles back up here to keep the show going, right? Yeah.
Applause.
Thanks,
Incredible
Charles.
demo. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
It's always so exciting to see all the things kind of come together that we've been working on for the last year or so. And the beauty of the platform is customers like PG&E are mix and matching these capabilities to create amazing solutions in ways we didn't even imagine. Like that one example that April was showing has cloud flows, it has Copilot, it has OpenAI actions to summarize text, and it has RPA or robotic process automation to go connect with super legacy systems. These types of capabilities are just a click away. You don't have to write any code, and it's cloud hosted and can get going incredibly quickly. And that's the magic of all of these tools and what we've been working on is this idea of empowering users who maybe don't know how to write code to go create amazing solutions. And one of my favorite examples out there right now is from Garrett. He tells the story of how he didn't have a technical background and wasn't a coder by practice or by education, but by learning the Power Platform, he was able to transform his career and become a senior digital engineer at Jaguar Land Rover. These types of stories are what get us out of bed in the morning and kind of get to work and writing code and writing specs and servicing the product, because this is what Power Platform enables. Not only can you go solve problems at work, you can also boost and transform your career. It's a way to go extend your skill set, get more done, and expand out increasingly into application development and more. And if we look at the journey for Power Platform, we've talked about this idea of low code for a while, about 5 or 6 years now. And if we look at what that means, if you take this graph, kind of the x-axis is the level of technical skill. So all the way to one end is folks that can write Objective-C and Rust and C++. And then on the other end, you have folks that can just open Word and say, write a paragraph. And if the y-axis is the set of people with those skills, there's a lot more people on the left-hand side than the right-hand side. A lot more people feel comfortable just writing text or creating presentations than feel comfortable inside of Visual Studio or VS Code or GitHub. And low code in the Power Platform kind of sits in the middle of that. It helps do some pretty sophisticated things, but also is, through the visual experiences, pretty accessible. And like I mentioned earlier, being in Microsoft's DNA, you can see Access, and SharePoint is kind of like the father of it all in terms of this concept at Microsoft. But we think we're at a unique point in time because of the AI capabilities, because of Copilot, where we can actually stretch the Power Platform line to the left and make it so that all you have to be able to do is just describe your problem, and you can start to build a solution in the Power Platform. And this shift is game-changing, because there's lots of great surveys out there. 50% of information or office tasks could be automated if there just was time to automate them. Or there's over 500 million new apps that have to get built in the next couple of years, which is more than all the apps in the last 40 years. So just huge unmet demand for digital solutions in every company, in every country, in every industry. And by expanding the set of people that can participate in development with Power Platform, we can go start to tackle that unmet demand. And if we look at what the journey has been like, Gartner has a great study about the shift for enterprise application development from code first to low code first. Starting in 2020, less than 25% of new enterprise apps were built with low code tools. Gartner is forecasting by 2025, over 70% will be built with low code tools. This is a huge shift that's even faster than the shift to cloud 10 years ago. And we are at the midpoint right now. Over the next 2 years, an incredible surge of development will be done with tools like the Power Platform, and AI will only make it more compelling, because every workflow and every app and every conversational experience can be AI-powered and can be built faster and more easily with Copilot. So that's an incredible set of capabilities, and that's a really important idea of how AI shows up. It's all over the Power Platform, inside of Power Automate Visual Experience, inside of Power Virtual Agent, and more. It's not just Copilot. AI doesn't just help you build solutions, it makes the solutions that you build just as intelligent. And the way we like to think about it is we want to make it so any app you build in Power Apps can have its own Copilot that you control, that you manage, and that you enrich. And this idea of democratization of development extends just to AI the same way. As we saw in the demo earlier, we have great capabilities in Power Automate, but there's also an amazing set of capabilities inside of Power Virtual Agent. You can now create your own ChatGPT. What I mean by that is you can take Power Virtual Agent, point it to your website, point it to internal documents, say files, knowledge-based articles, SharePoint sites, and it will automatically create a ChatGPT based on your data and protecting your data that you can use internally or externally to the company. And we already have thousands of companies using this capability to create their own ChatGPT to engage employees better and engage customers better. And if anyone's worked in conversational experiences for a while or conversational AI, this has been the best breakthrough ever because we've worked for years and years to create amazing chat-based experience. And ChatGPT makes it so with just a little bit of enrichment, a little bit of grounding from your content, we can build amazing chat experiences without having to become an AI or ML expert. Just have to share configuration of links and websites. Additionally, the demo showed this idea of OpenAI inside of Power Automate, where you can actually call GPT to do summarization or any of our pre-built prompts, as well as to write your own prompt. So if you want to do text classification, or if you want to do extraction or formatting of structured data, all of that is possible. You have the full prompt window. So anything that you could do when you go call the OpenAI API or could do inside ChatGPT, you can now integrate and automate inside of Power Automate. And the benefit of this is every workflow can generally be improved by taking advantage of these capabilities, because things which historically still required a human to review and approve and edit can now actually be generated through these capabilities. Additionally, and we didn't get a chance to show this just because we ran out of time in the demo, you can use those same OpenAI actions inside of Power Automate Desktop. So with the robotic process automation in Power Automate, you can easily mix and match UI automation as well as deeper text or content or unstructured data understanding. And this is the first RPA offering with integrated generative AI out there. So your RPA bots can be powered and turbocharged with GPT and other large language models. And if we look at Power Apps, you can also use the same sets of actions inside your application. So as you gather data, if you want to revise it or refine it, or if you want to generate data, you can do all of that right inside of Power Apps just by calling the AI Builder action. And this kind of goes back to that idea that AI and Copilot isn't something just reserved for people that have deep coding expertise or ML expertise or know how to get the right API key or get GPU capacity. Anyone in the Power Platform can use these AI capabilities to do amazing things. And just like PG&E, I cannot wait to see what other things are going to be created, what other people are going to build, and what other companies can accomplish using these AI capabilities in new and interesting ways. Now, that's the end of the first stanza. So all about AI. I think everybody's heard a lot about AI, and there's even more coming, but we're going to shift a little bit to a slightly different topic, which is this idea of professional development and coding inside a Power Platform and Microsoft 365. And you might be wondering, oh, Power Platform talks about no code, low code all the time and how it becomes more accessible and democratizes development. What does it mean for developers? What's amazing is about 25% of Power Platform users are coders or professional developers. And they use low code to go faster, to build solutions more quickly. And this is particularly important as you go to things like data integration and connectivity. Power Platform has over 1,000 data connectors built into the platform, whether that's ServiceNow, SAP, Oracle, Workday, SQL database, Oracle database, AS400, Informix, if you name it, we can probably connect to it. And what's incredible about this is so many projects are bogged down because you can't integrate with the data or systems you already have in place at work. A typical Power App connects to at least 3 different systems, which usually means 3 different forms of API, 3 different SDKs, 3 different authentication approaches, and 3 different authorization approaches. But with just a click of a button, you can bring in additional connectors to your solution built in the Power Platform. And this is one of the biggest accelerants as you look to using Power Platform to create solutions. And you can even use these connectors and embed inside of Teams or SharePoint. And although 1,000 is a lot, it's not everything. There's always some system that we don't support or is just specific to that company, like the example April gave at PG&E. Like, there's always something that we don't have out of the box. But what's great about the Power Platform is you're never stuck. There are professional developer extensibility points throughout the platform. So if we don't have it, you can build it. And custom connectors make it so you can unlock any app, any system, in any database. That means if we don't have that in the 1,000, you can add it or add a bunch. And inside of Microsoft, for example, we're big Power Platform users, as you can imagine. We have thousands upon thousands of custom connectors. And it may sound complicated or difficult to build, but we have a great guided experience. And to show that in action, I'm excited to welcome on the stage David, who's going to build a custom connector in less than 5 minutes.
Well, since I'm here with some of my dearest friends in the community, whoop, whoop, I've got a super secret to share with y'all. Do you want to hear it? I never thought that my being bald would be such an advantage till I got here in Vegas, but I'm being mistaken for a member of the Blue Man Group everywhere I turn, which has resulted in getting a table at a restaurant easy as pie. Pie, right? Get it? So I need to now make the best decisions possible for my dining experience. I'm going to turn to a Power Platform custom connector connected to Yelp to help me with that. You ready to see a live demo? Woo! All right, let's check it out. We are going to start with, all right. So the first thing we want to do when we're doing a custom connector is understanding what the endpoint is for our API. So here we're starting with Yelp, and we're going to use the search businesses endpoint here for us, and that's going to give us that api.yelp.com. Always want to start with that developer docs. It's going to be your best start. What they also give us is the exact request URL. That's available for us right here. And they also allow us to see what a custom response is. So we'll come back to that in a moment as we start to build our custom connector. Now, the other thing, of course, is authorization. Everyone is different. So in this case, Yelp uses a custom API key. I've already set one up here for us to use, and so we'll use that today. Next up, we're going to start creating our custom connector. So I'm going to go over to Power Automate. I'm going to select New Custom Connector from blank. I'm going to give it a name I think is appropriate, Blue Man Chew. Continue. And it's going to give us an opportunity to upload a logo. It's always nice because it looks professional. So, of course, I've got one that's convincing here. I think that looks pretty convincing, no? Does that look like me, a blue man? All right. What we're going to then do is we're going to put in the API URL. So I'm going to go down to api.yelp.com, and we're going to move into security. Now, as already mentioned, we know that we're going to be using an API key. So we just select that dropdown, and then we give it a label. Nothing fancy here. We just call it API key. Can be anything you want. The parameter name, though, this is defined by your API host. So in this case, Yelp requires authorization. So we're going to type that in. And now we're going to go into our definition. This is where we're going to identify the actions that are available for those that want to use our custom connector. So in this case, I'm going to say dining search. This is just a label. Operation, I'm going to call it search. And this is what our users will see when they want to do a connection. The only two things from here that we need to provide is those information pieces that were provided by Yelp, that request and that response. And what's beautiful is we can get it directly from a sample, right? So we see here import from sample. It gives us some connection type options. In this place, we're going to use get. So I'm going to select get, and it wants a URL. So I'm going to go back over to Yelp, and I'm going to use that get URL right there. I'm just going to copy it, go back into Power Automate, and select paste, and select import. Now, what it's provided to us is our query options. So we want those to be required. If someone's going to search for a restaurant or a dining, then we want them to input that information. So I go in and I select is required, yes. I'm going to do the same thing for term, select edit, is required, yes, and go back. And now we're done for that request section. The only thing left is the response section. So it wants a JSON body. Well, fortunately for us, we saw that available in the API documentation. So we just come down to the response, we select examples. We want a successful response result. So I'm going to select 200. We see that Yelp has given us a nice example of what that looks like. So all we need to do is select all, copy, go back into our Power Automate, select paste, import. Now we're done. That's it. That's all we need to do. Click Create Connector. Of course, as it's being created, we can create more complex connectors, have more query options. We can make other things required or optional. We can definitely get it customized to how it should be for our connector. Perhaps it's a connector in your organization you want to create for your APIs. It doesn't have to be openly and publicly available. It's something that you could create. So we're done, and now it's time to test it. So we click on the test. We need to make a connection. So we're going to select New Connection. It's going to bring up the opportunity to put in that API key. So we know we already got that ready. I'm going to go back and copy that API key. And what we have to type in is bearer. We preface that there for us. We type that in. We just put a space and paste that in. Click Create Connection. And we go back, and we just are given the opportunity to refresh that with a little refresh icon right there. And we see that that connection shows up. Now I'm done. All I need to do is say Las Vegas, and term, dining, test operation. And as it runs, I've got a successful 200 with a bunch of options for me to go dine. How easy is that? But that's not where it ends. We saw how easy it is to create it. You can use it. So I'm going to go over to an existing flow that I've got set up here. I've already got some steps in place, so I'm going to create a new one. And it's giving us all the options of the connectors that already exist. Some of these are built in. Some of them have been created by you in the community. Woo woo! And some are going to show what I just created. So there we go. I've got my Blue Man Chew connector ready for me to go, ready to use with the icon. Everything's fantastic. Easy as that. What do you think? Yeah. Excellent. All right, well, let's take a moment now and invite Charles back onto the stage.
I'm from the dirty, but that Chico nice.
Awesome.
Y'all call it a moment. I call it.
Thank you, David. So I think, as you saw, it's super easy to take advantage of all the connectors, but also to go build and register your own connector. And this list is just massive and growing all the time. We're shipping and building about 25 or 30 new connectors every single month to make it easier to bring more systems together. And where we don't have a connector, you can always use robotic process automation to drive the AI as well, in addition to creating the custom experience. Now, we spend a lot of time around custom connectors, but that is just one slice of what you can do inside the Power Platform if you're a developer. We have CI/CD built in, so you can run your standard software development lifecycle process, so you can do pre-prod and do tests and automation before you push to production. You can go have pipelines which capture information as things move between environments and before they reach users' hands. You can also go have an onboarding experience centrally, which you push out for all developers or business users who build solutions in the Power Platform, so they know what to expect and what capabilities are allowed and not allowed. And last but not least, we've spent a lot of time building code-first experiences. You can now check in representations of all the visual artifacts in the Power Platform. So if you want a view of Power Apps in Git, there's a YAML version of the file, which you can export, you can diff, you can do pull requests, and more. So all of this comes together so that even if you love to write code, you can spend your time writing code where it matters, in microservices and building machine learning models and backend systems, and then tie it together and wire it up using the Power Platform. More solutions, more apps, more workflows, faster than ever before. And a great way to keep extending all these capabilities is to bring it together with Microsoft 365. Power Platform augments it and accelerates it so you can build professional code components and visuals, but mix and match with Power Platform artifacts as well. And this combo extends for users, to makers, to developers, to always work better together. And to spend some more time talking about this and really exploring what's possible for professional developers inside of Microsoft 365, I'm super excited to be able to welcome on stage my good friend Vesa, who's going to walk through all the great capabilities that we've shipped lately.
Thank you, Charles. Cheers. Excellent. Thanks, everybody. Great to be in Vegas. Amazing to see the energy within a room. So awesome, awesome to have you all in here. Now, we centralize our Microsoft 365 platform really around the Microsoft Teams platform. So we have capabilities and extensibility points which you can take advantage. It doesn't matter if you're a low code developer or a pro code developer. We can create tabs, personal application. We can create messaging extensions, bots, meeting extensions, and feed notifications. We have the underlying Graph API, which you can take advantage as a Power Platform developer or as a pro developer. We can share the teams. We have webhooks and connectors to do automation behind the scenes. Now, this works with all in Microsoft Teams works together with the Power Platform or as we are creating pro development solutions, and there's a lot of them available within the ecosystem. Of course, natively within the Microsoft Teams, we have the Power BI integration. We have Power Apps running directly inside of the Microsoft Teams, and you can use the Power Virtual Agents over there as well. But you can actually build this also using pro development tooling. And the really cool number, which Jeff actually shared yesterday, is that we have 100,000 custom applications running in Microsoft Teams. And that's a mind-blowing number, right? Now, how we are extending this is that we are extending or adding or making those Microsoft Teams applications available further down within the Microsoft 365 ecosystem. So as you're building a Microsoft Teams app, regardless of your tooling, we will enable that to be available, for example, in Outlook or in Office.com, or Microsoft 365.com, as we call it nowadays. And this will be available within the web, mobile, and desktop, which is really, really cool. As we start developing this tooling, we do have different kind of developer experiences and different kind of IDEs which you can take advantage. Right now, we have released the Microsoft Teams Toolkit preview version of the version 5, which is already available for you to take advantage. We also have a support for building Microsoft Teams applications using a SharePoint Framework, which is a great option to extend your application through Microsoft 365. It doesn't really matter which of these options you actually choose. Is it a Power Platform low-code? Is it a Teams Toolkit? Is it a SharePoint Framework? We actually give you also great samples which are available for you to take advantage. So you should always check out AKMS community/samples to see all of the great samples that community at Microsoft and Microsoft has provided to be available for you. Now, let's have a look on one of those samples as a live demo. So let me go to my computer here, and let's have a look on the scenario, what we have available here. And as the age does not come alone, I will put my glasses on. Something has changed throughout the years. Now, this is a Contosa retail company, and they built this awesome-looking dashboard within a Microsoft SharePoint previously because they've been using Microsoft 365 for a while. So you can see that it's actually showing the sales data, information around the reasons for returns, and all of that. They've been in Microsoft 365 or Office 365 for a while. And as they're looking into extending this information to be available across the Microsoft 365, they were wondering on what would I have to do on get this one available within the Microsoft Teams. And this is where it actually gets really, really cool. So especially now that we're using SharePoint Framework in this case, because it's originally coming as a web part, this is a developer keynote, so I'm going to show some code, not too much. But getting that functionality available within Microsoft Teams only means that I can actually add additional settings in my manifest and say that this web part should be also available at the Microsoft Teams personal application and as a Microsoft Teams tab. And that's it. No code change is required. Exactly the same piece of code all of a sudden is now supported to be executed in Microsoft Teams. So let's have a look on how it looks like. So let me go in here. And let me go actually on the Microsoft Teams side, because a lot of people are using Microsoft Teams throughout the day. It is really the hub of work. And we want to make sure that your applications, regardless how you build them, are available directly in the flow of the work. So in here, we can see this exactly the same application exposed in the Microsoft Teams with 2 additional strings in the manifest. No code changes. That's pretty cool, isn't it? And of course, we can extend that application to have additional details available, additional details around the inventory, and so on, depending on what is the scenario. That's really, really cool and cool-looking implementation. Now, as we are in a Microsoft Teams, we can always access, of course, the Microsoft Teams SDK. And that gives us an access on information like who's the user of the Teams, what is the channel where the application has been open, and all of that. And we can easily access that directly in the context of the web part. or the implementation. Within the code, we can simply ask, where am I actually being hosted? Oh, wait, actually, it shows something related on Office and Outlook, and that's actually really cool as well. So now that the web part with 2 changes in a JSON file is available in Microsoft Teams, it actually works in Outlook and also in Office, which is pretty mind-blowing. So let's have a look on that. So let me go back on the browser, and let me go to my Outlook, because some people prefer to use Outlook as their primary channel. We actually expose all of those Microsoft Teams applications directly within Outlook as well. So I can easily access that information within the context of my work. And as mentioned, it's not just Outlook. Of course, it works in the Microsoft 365. It comes back on the fact that it doesn't matter where the user actually spends the time. They can actually access the information, so I can go to Apps, and then I can click again, the same dashboard to be available, and I can get to that information easily. Really, really cool. Now, as this is a retail company, they do have a lot of employees who are not actually sitting in front of the desktop all the time. So that means that they actually use a mobile device to get access on this information. And we don't talk about the Microsoft Viva too much, but Microsoft Viva will actually solve this. And there's a great keynote starting right after this, where we go more detailed on the business values. But I'm going to show a more small extensibility thing. Because again, we're using SharePoint Framework, and we're able to create in this Microsoft Viva connection dashboard a functionality and dashboard which is relevant for the frontline workers who use mobile devices. So you can, of course, personalize this any way you want. In our case, we implemented a custom SharePoint Framework dashboard card. And I can actually put it in here. And let's actually find our retail card and add that retail inventory in place and add it in here. And let me republish the dashboard. That's cool. That's Viva Connection, but for a desktop view. Let's actually see how it looks like for the retail employees, the frontline workers within their mobile devices. So here we go. I'm in a Microsoft Teams, because retail workers, they don't sit in the front of the desktop computers. They actually work on a day-to-day basis with mobile. And the Microsoft Viva gives them the connection and engaged with the company information. The Viva connection is then the dashboard available within a mobile, and we can personalize that based on the company requirements. And as you can see, we have the retail inventory dashboard and a card visible here. And me, as a frontline worker, I can access the relevant information directly from the Microsoft Teams using the Viva connection capabilities. That's pretty cool, right? Cool. Let's actually go back on the slides and have a look on what we actually see there. So as mentioned, we can build these applications using Microsoft Teams Visual Studio Code extensions, or we can use a SharePoint framework. These are not either or. They give you the options of doing extensibility across Microsoft 365. SharePoint Framework, it's a bit of a misleading name because it's now extended across SharePoint, Microsoft Teams, Microsoft Viva, and Outlook and Office. But it's the same code, same reusable code, which is available across the platform. And that's really cool. Now, we need to remember that all of this pro development tooling can also connect and take advantage of the Power Platform capabilities. So the data, when it's actually being showed or saved, can still integrate directly within Power Automate, and then we have additional processes in place. Also, the Viva dashboard natively supports Power Apps. So you can expose those Power Apps in the mobile experience for your frontline workers with a really easy integration. So it is really a better together story between the Power Platform and Microsoft 365. And let me invite Charles back on the stage for this one. Thank you, Charles.
One more time, we're gonna celebrate. Oh, yeah.
And kind of that's the ongoing theme of the session, and hopefully something very familiar over the course of the conference is this idea of bringing together, mixing and matching all these different Microsoft capabilities. And I like to always think of it a little bit like you have a palette and you're painting a solution. You should go choose the right colors. You should go choose the right components, whether that's SPFX, whether that's Power Automate, whether that's inside of Teams or SharePoint or Power Virtual Agent. All of them are at your fingertips, all inside of Azure Active Directory, and all incredibly easy to get started and run at scale. And the favorite of mine, you have to have favorites, is Power Apps and Power Automate inside of Teams. Teams has become the go-to hub and centerpiece where People spend most of their time at work or a lot of time at work, whether it's chatting in meetings or calls and video conferencing, and you can bring Power Automate to have workflows and actions and processes right inside of Teams. You can use those 1,000+ connectors to bring all the other parts of your IT estate directly into where people are spending all their time in their flow of work. Or you can use Power Apps to create an application experience nice and quickly inside of Teams. So a lot of great content, and it's a lot for just 1 hour. So I'll do a quick recap of what we covered today. 4 major things. First is this idea of Copilot, this new era of development and creation, and how Copilot makes Power Platform solutions easier than ever before to build and to create. And whether you're an expert or new, you can create amazing things using the power of AI. The second is it's not just AI for us at Microsoft. It's AI for you too. The solutions you build in the Power Platform can take advantage of all these amazing open AI capabilities. You can have your own ChatGPT based on your own data hosted inside of SharePoint using Power Virtual Agent. You can have a Power Automate workflow which uses GPT 3.5 or ChatGPT Turbo to create amazing understandings of text and other forms and content, and more. And it's not just about AI, it's also about Power Platform supporting developers with things like custom connectors, so you can easily go call out to Yelp and make dinner reservations, or call any internal system that you have, or any microservice that you built and are hosting elsewhere. And last but not least, amazing capabilities for developers inside of Microsoft 365. And we had great demoers today. We had Vesa covering the Microsoft 365 extensibility, David for the custom connectors, and April for the Power Automate and Copilot. So let's give them one last round of applause for the amazing demos. And if you want more content, you're at the right place. There's over 17 sessions today and tomorrow covering the Power Platform. Learn about what's new and what's coming. Learn about how customers are using all these great capabilities in practice with great speakers and great sessions from the community. Oh, come on. From the community. Awesome. As well as from Microsoft product engineering. So a lot of great content. And if this is not enough and you want even more about the Power Platform, happy to announce that coming this fall in October, we have the Microsoft Power Platform Conference, the second one ever, right back here in the same place, where there'll be hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of Power Platform sessions. So as a question to raise your hand, who went to the Power Platform Conference last year? Awesome, awesome. Who's going to go to the one this year? Good, it's a start. No, but thank you so much for everybody showing up. Thank you for being the best group in tech, providing us great feedback, using our products, inspiring us with what you create and what you build, and we deeply appreciate everything that you do.